What's good, y'all? You dub back here again, here at the tail end, the end game of 2019. Things are winding up, y'all. Shout out to the subs, because y'all keep this channel alive, y'all keep me motivated, and y'all responsible for some of these videos, including this one. So, I had said, I know exactly where this video comes from. Alright, let me backtrack. Years ago, right? Years ago, I had did let's see, Gear 4, 5th, and 6th videos. Hell, I could probably do a Gear 7 video with the way cars and stuff are, but I'm not even gonna go for it because Oda threw a complete curveball with the whole Gear 4 set. So there's that. But I did those, and I talk about rubber, at least to a degree. I talked about things like tensile strength, but I had mentioned in what video was it? Oh, it was oh, shoot, was one, and I had made a comment about, it's the Blackbeard video. Does he need a third devil fruit? That was a response to KOL, all right, King of Lightning. And I had said that, rubber can potentially be one of the most OP powers and abilities, depending on, but Oda might not take it there. And then one of the commenters, one of the subs, shout out, he said, "Yo, can you do a video on rubber?" I was like, "Oh, okay, bro." So I had to pull it back up, bro. And fortunately, there's a lot of. All you have to do is basic Google search, right? Basic Google search, you'll find a plethora of, believe it or not, on this seemingly niche topic because nobody ever really talks about rubber, right? Man, there's so much information. One website, like that, you do that. They're like 5 different websites, fam. Like it's insane, bro. It's insane. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna talk about these different aspects and understand this. Now, let me say this to avoid confusion, all right, and to educate a few people. People think just because all characters have stretching abilities, that means that means a template. No, no, no. This isn't like with DC and Marvel where they sometimes literally do either skin changes, meaning they like, oh, we're going to change the design, but pretty much give this character the same power, or they are so similar with little bitty key details, but little bitty details. No, no, it's not the case. Mr. Fantastic, Reed Richards, his abilities in Marvel to stretch are ridiculous. Him and the Maker from the Ultimate Universe in Marvel, ridiculous. It's cosmic powered stuff. It's insane. It's insane. When it comes to Plastic Man from DC, good God. And understand that Plastic Man comes about what 20 years before um Reed Richards came out because Fantastic Four came out in the 60s. Plastic Man came out in the 40s. And Luffy is a rubber man. That's what he is. Not the same. Yes, they all stretch, but it ain't even close to being the same. You look at their abilities and their powers. Mr. Fantastic and Plastic Man are similar, but they're different. Also, there's Elongated Man from DC Comics. Can't forget him. He is. I still believe also before Mr. Fantastic because I believe he came out in the 50s. uh was he late 50s? Because I know he came out he was with the Flash comics. All right. And he wasn't as good as Plastic Man. The most powerful, it's probably, as far as stretchability, is probably Plastic Man over all of them. Luffy we'll see by the end of the series, but that's a whole other thing. And I can't really too much think of other stretch characters. Like you have Gumby and stuff, but I mean, there are characters who can stretch, but really stretch away. Maybe Gumby. But believe it or not, the stretching characters aren't that common as you would think they would be. I know there are probably some that exist outside fiction, but I wanted to table all that. We're talking what Luffy has, rubber, right? So right now I have, let's see, 2, 4, 6, 9 off this website I grabbed, and it had broke down all of them, but I'll give a brief to what they are. Hardness. Okay. For some reason, this website listed them, and then it started with the bottom of the characteristics. Logic, I know. Hardness. Hardness is literally like it's pretty simple. It's kind of what we think of. Like if you, depending if you want the more solid rubber, generally the harder it is. Like the simple as possible. A rubber, you know how hard a rubber eraser, right? Them pink erasers, don't say those hurt, don't they? You can use them as weapons. I know some of y'all had. Well, I know some of them, especially them big ones. I know some of y'all threw them suckers. Those suckers hurt. Another thing I always forget. Hockey pucks. Those suckers hurt. Man, I forget that those suckers are made of rubber. I'm like, I learned something when doing these research. I'm like, really? Oh shit, no wonder. And of course you have 18 wheeler tires that those are just pure rubber. So rubber, people they think of the elongating factor, but we'll get to that. But some people don't understand is you if you condense it to a certain way, and again they're like seem to be like two schools of thought when it comes to rubber, and I'll address that in a second. But if you seem to like condense it with the elastometers or whatever they want to call it, and its polymer, the way its molecular structure is, you can get really, really condensed, really, really hard substances. And that's what I said years ago for Luffy. If Oda, not even his hockey game. Like, if he literally utilized the devil fruit instead of stretching, but like compounded, he kind of did that with muscle balloon with Gear Force, but not really. Like, if he condensed that, do you understand how hard hitting he could be? He could wreck somebody's shit. He could literally mess up a Yonko. I know you got Rio and stuff, but if he literally did solid rubber, which is in his full capability, then Luffy would easily be having Yonko level punches. I'm not playing. Solid rubber getting hit by an 18 wheeler, literally. That's no joke, bro. Take it out to the jaws. No, I don't care if you Lin Lin. I don't care if it's Kaido. I don't care if it's Teach, Shanks, whoever the case may be. Hawkeyes. Even if Newgate was alive, you get your shit rocked. That would hurt like hell. And Luffy, with the power of an 18 wheeler in one fist, backed up by all his extraordinary might. That hurts. That hurts a lot. Just saying. So he goes for the elasticity, but if you wanted to compound that, that would make Luffy exponentially more powerful, even without hockey. Add hockey onto that, then you just got a whole nother monster there. So there's that. I mean, I was saying two schools of thought because you can have the really stretchy rubber or really compacted rubber. So you could go either way. If Oda wanted to take it that way, for example, tensile strength. That's the strength of how much you've seen it like rubber bands. How much you can pretty much pull it apart before it snaps. Tensile strength. Ropes usually a lot of times we see have tensile strength. How much they can hold and things like that nature at a long distance. You've probably done plenty of experiments with different types of stuff, so I won't bore you with the details. Let's see. Moving on. Thirdly, tensile modulus. Um, it goes along with tensile strength. It's a little bit different, but whatever. You can look it up if you want to. Fourthly, elongation. We know what that is. Luffy has a decent level, but guys like Elongated Man, Plastic Man, Mr. Fantastic, I use them as examples because they have longer ability to stretch, okay, without having to draw back. Uh, resilience as is pretty self-explanatory. The ability to, uh, maintain when you stretch out. You can come back together. It's kind of one of the things of skin. It's known when you're younger, this thing right here, if you can see it, the bounce back of the skin, okay? Older people, it goes down slower. Just do that experiment. Pull your skin. It also means something else for biological factors, but it's been a minute since I've done human anatomy. Next up we have compression set. Now this is interesting. It made sense, but I was like, what is this? This was one of the areas I was like, Nani? So compression set is pretty much will it re will it just maintain its shape? Now this could be good or bad, but you ever done something where you've laid something on it, like something heavy, and it warped the object to a new shape? That's kind of what we're talking about here. Now this can be really good or bad. Now if you can determine your compression set, okay, this would be crazy. Like if let's say Luffy, I know Mr. Fantastic and Plastic Man have great with this, where they can literally morph their body to be like flat like a splatting or bloated, and they can maintain that for a while. So they can do that either way. If Luffy got to that level, he'd be imagine him maintaining Tank Man as long as he wanted to, Bound Man as long as he wanted to, pretty much indefinite Bound Man and Tank Man. If Luffy tapped into his full rubber abilities, then those are possibilities where pretty much no stamina strain or negligible, like minuscule. Kind of how, if you remember in Dragon Ball, where Son Goku and Gohan were training after the type hyperbolic time chamber, and they were able to have the full power completed Super Saiyan all day without fighting. Okay, so something like that, Luffy could definitely benefit from that. Like I say, a lot of this stuff is straight from his rubber abilities. Like everybody talks about hockey. Oh, how could Luffy get more powerful? Mastery of Devil Fruit. I know some people say it, but seriously, they are thinking awakening and stuff. No, he just has to tap more into his Devil Fruit abilities. Okay, he's got to get better at his Devil Fruit. If he gets better at his Devil Fruit, he can be OP as hell without having. He could go up against Teach with even 3 Devil Fruits if he masters his, because Teach won't be mastered. So keep that in mind. Tear resistance. Now, again, it makes sense and perfect sense when you think, but for those who like, what do you know, and you like me, you needed a visualization. So tear resistance, you ever had to where um you stretch something and you start to see the holes in it after a while? If you've ever dealt with anything rubber or anything stretchy, you see it. If you like me, play games, or if you do a slingshot or something, if you have a slingshot or something of that capacity, you need it to be strong to not start breaking apart on you. Or if you have clothes and they get stretched out, they don't start breaking apart on you. You don't need that, right? That's tear resistance. Next up is abrasion resistance. This is like if you got strong hard rubber or strong hard substance, you cut it, or if it like rubs up against something, it doesn't start tearing apart. It's similar to tear resistance, but it's a little bit different. Abrasiveness, sharper blended objects don't break it apart. Luffy has this to a degree, but he doesn't have the highest quality, because even with hockey, he breaks apart. If he had great abrasive resistance, he's got great tear resistance. I haven't seen him tear apart, so that's good. But if he had great abrasive resistance, once again, mastery of his Devil Fruit, then he wouldn't even technically need hockey. He would be immune to cuts. You could like, what? Yeah, if he was fully embraced as a rubber man, he would have immunity to cuts. Now, I'm not gonna say, when I say immunity to cuts, I'm talking more so glancing blue. I ain't talking like Zoro or Mihawk just or Odin just and cutting through the man. Nah, bro, that's doing the most. But theoretically, yeah. So theoretically, Luffy could be immune to fucking he could be immune to swords. Theoretically. Which is OP in One Piece. Seriously. If this man was literally, you could not, or even piercing techniques. Like invulnerability to the nth. So he could potentially, I mean, this would be OP as hell, Oda. But Oda, if he maxed out his Devil Fruit, it seems mediocre. But Luffy could potentially be invulnerable to blunt, piercing, and cutting blows. And it's in his nature. So it seemed like Oda gave him but if Luffy maxed it out, max stats rubber, Luffy is invulnerable. Greater than Kaido. Think about that. Greater than Kaido. Greater than Lin Lin. Greater than Newgate. Let that sink in for a moment. Can hit harder than anybody, is more invulnerable than anybody. Maybe that people say an awakening. I want this to be an awakening, or I want this to be Gear 5th, Gear 6. Luffy maxing out his Devil Fruit. Finally, on this list, and I'll say something I said years ago, and it always stuck with me. Specific gravity. That's more dealing with what type of rubber you're dealing with, and its specific set in nature of its molecules. Okay. Now here's the thing, bro. Here's the thing. I remember reading years ago how rubber has an aversion to water. Okay. And for those who don't understand what that means, it means like rubbers, if it's treated properly and whatnot. I know people talk about vulcanization and stuff, whatever. It could pretty much mean that Luffy would not sink. So a maxed out, and I may do a composite. Well, composite Luffy is insane because of people's theories and whatever, with like dimensional shit. But if in a realistic setting, if Luffy used the rubber abilities, okay, once again, he would be immune to literally. He could swim more or less, or at least pull a brook and run on water. Like he could literally not be affected by the devil of the sea and the curse of the sea. So there's that. Luffy learned it. Maybe Oda's saving that for the end of the series. Uh, it means that Luffy would be have the greatest durability in the series. He already has insane durability, and it's partially because not just his genetics, but in a lot of ways, um, it's because of his devil fruit. And I know people realize that, and I mean, I just chalk it up and like whatever. But literally, Luffy taking beatings would not be happening like that if he masters his devil fruit. The same thing with cutting and piercing techniques. And we know that cutting, people say that's his weakness. No, it's actually magma. It's actually Sakazuki's devil fruit is legitimately, if you know anything about rubber and things burning rubber, we hear that. Yeah, that has something to do with it. But that's what hockey's for. But if Luffy masters his devil fruit, then he could take attacks from a Yonko and keep going and going. He could also take attacks from a guy like Zoro or piercing attacks, like we saw with the effective nature, Don Krieg and whatnot. Now he's already kind of done that with Gear Fourth in the elongation factor, so he's kind of tapped into that a little bit, but he used hockey. But if he just used his natural state of rubber, even without hockey, he would be able. Joker couldn't pierce him with his attacks or cut him. People like Don Krieg and different ones couldn't use things. Shigon with Rob Lucci, so it would take something very special. Like Rob Lucci has Rokugan. There's nothing you can do about that. Jinbei has Fishman Karate. There's nothing you can do about that. Now, even though I say he's invulnerable to attacks, you have things like Devil Fruit, you have things like Hockey, which cut to the soul. So a great swordsman like Hawkeyes and Mihawk, they would actually have to really utilize their Hockey, which drains. Okay. Also, if he mastered these different things, he wouldn't have to rely on Hockey, which means he could already utilize his insane stamina. For those who don't understand why he won the Katakuri fight, when I talk about stamina and durability, he didn't rely on Hockey. He could keep getting up. His devil fruit allows for it. It's not an ass pull. It's literally his power. It's just that Luffy has to go when he goes into Gear Fourth. It's such a strain on the body. Rayleigh talked about it, but if you look at these other fights in the series, they be going for days. Literally, you had Lin Lin and Kaido and Wano do their spar, clash, whatever you want to call it for, in day and night. You had you know, Jinbei and Ace for 5 days to a draw. Sakazuki and Kuzan supposedly for 10 days. You see my point? Okay, Luffy could do that if he didn't use these wild ass techniques. If he didn't use a gear second, if he is secondo, and I love the techniques, but if Luffy mastered his devil fruit, he wouldn't need all those amps, and that's what they are. They're amplifying his base state. It's kind of how people complain in Dragon Ball Super. They're like, listen, Son Goku and Vegeta just need to work on their bases, and I would rather see them use bases. Like all that Super Saiyan stuff, that's great, but they're just multipliers. They need to work on their base, and that's the thing about Luffy. He needs to work on his base strength, which some have stated. Um, I mentioned the water, I mentioned the blunt strike. Like that's it. Like if Luffy just used the properties of rubber, the dude casually be Yonko level. And I could totally see him being Power King just with one devil fruit. But again, that's just the thing. Luffy's young, but if anybody can do it at a young age, he can. I think that's part of the reason why Oda had him, do what he does at a young age. Because if Luffy, being the kind of guy he is, was older, was in his 40s, he would have ran through everybody because his devil fruit is one of the most OP devil fruits in existence. You just have to be creative and you have to put in the time and work. It's not one of them where you don't have to put in as much work. Certain logias. It doesn't mean you don't have to put in work, but it means you don't have to put in as much work. Look at Caribou. Look at Monet. They didn't have to put in as much work. Look at Caesar Clown because of the nature of the Logia. Probably the same thing with Mythical Zones. But Luffy's, now there's other abilities. All Devil Fruits, and I'll say this and end this. All Devil Fruits can be OP and or hacks. I've said that time and time again. But certain ones are special. I mean, look what Katakuri did with Mochi, bro. Special Paramecia. Look what he did with Mochi. And try to tell me that what I'm saying is untrue. Unexpected Warning, like, comment, subscribe. Tell me your thoughts. Did you learn something? Is there any other powers and abilities you would love me to break down? I'm into all sorts of fiction, so it'd be so much fun for me to do that. And until next time, y'all, have a beautiful day, beautiful night. Peace.